All right, so welcome to the Plant Spirit Communication Workshop. My name is Trisha. I'm a folk herbalist, intuitive psychic, and body, mind, and soul coach. I'm going to be your guide as we go into in depth about how we can connect with the spirit of plants. So this may be a new topic to a lot of you, or maybe you already are connecting with the spirit of plants. Wherever you are in your journey, I hope that you walk away with some practical tips and or not experiences, what's the word? Tips and I can't think of the word, mind blank, but just some things to actually take you into practice in the field to practically connect with the spirit of plants. So we're going to open up with some quantum physics talk, and you might be wondering what quantum physics has to do with this, but it will all make sense by the end, I promise. So quantum physics tells us that everything in the universe is made up of energy. Subatomic particles make up electrons, which make up atoms, which make up molecules, and cells. Everything in this universe is made up of these building blocks. Your body, a tree, even thought is energy. So everything at its core is pure potential of vibration. You may have heard of Albert Einstein's equation E equals mc squared. And really what this means, to put it in simple terms, E is energy, mc is matter squared, meaning energy is matter, matter is energy. Everything at its core is just energy until it is observed in the physical form. So how does this relate to the spiritual world? We are all connected. Every single one of us are connected on this planet, not just humans, but animals and plants, even rocks. But we are under this illusion of separation. Because we're all fundamentally energy, that energy can be expressed in many different forms, not just in this physical reality, but across multiple dimensions. These dimensions exist on the same field that we're currently living in, but they vibrate at a different frequency. So think of it like layers in a lasagna, one stacked on top of the other. So the reality that you're experiencing here and now is based off of the vibration that you are emitting. So we humans are pretty dense. We're very physical in this 3D reality. We feel shame, fear, and hate, and this lowers our vibration into this 3D dimensional reality. Whereas plants, they don't feel those feelings. They vibrate at a higher frequency. And because of this, their consciousness exists at a higher level, a higher dimension. So in order for us to communicate with plants, we have to travel to these dimensions where spirit resides. So simply put, we need to raise our vibration. And I'll get into how we can raise our vibration later on. The Native Americans and other indigenous communities across the world all recognize that things have spirit. Tree spirit, mountain spirit, eagle spirit. This spirit is energy. It is the active force that governs all things. And according to the indigenous people, in order for us to communicate with spirit, it must be done in the dream realm or the dream world. Dreams are another example of higher dimensions of reality. I like to think of dreams kind of like a video game map. You know, you load a map and you're physically there, but you can load another map and you're physically there. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it makes sense to me how maps of like a video game is how I kind of imagine or interpretate different dimensions of reality. And the Native Americans also recognized this. The dream world, some called it heaven or the spirit realm. These are all just different words to explain the same thing, but it's basically where spirit resides. So our mind is the door to these altered dimensions. We don't experience them in the physical because, again, we are too dense. Our physical bodies, we aren't made of light. But our mind We aren't just living in the universe, we are the universe. We experience all things through the perception of our mind. So when we tap out of the exterior and into the interior, that door opens up for us to experience more outside of our lens of perception. And I hope you're following me here. So, what is above is also below. What is inside of us is also outside of us. So, now let's talk about quantum entanglement. This is a phenomenon where two subatomic particles are linked throughout time and space, even though they are separated. So, science has, and I'm going to tell you this not in a scientific way. I'm going to just verbatim the conclusion of the scientific study. They took two atoms, split them, one in one part of the world and another part of the world. What they did to this atom happened to this atom. And this shows us how connected everything in this universe is. So to put this in practical terms as it relates to plants, let's take lemon balm as an example. We have lemon balm in our cup of tea, right? It's been processed into a tea bag. But this plant was once connected to the original alive plant. Now, even though it has been cut from the plant, dried, processed, put into a tea bag, shipped across the world, and now it's in my teacup, through quantum entanglement, the atoms of this plant are still connected to that original plant. And to go even deeper into this, because of the seeds of each plant continue to germinate and germinate and germinate, continue the species, every single lemon balm is connected to one original lemon balm. And that is for every oak tree, every cherry blossom tree, every single plant on this planet is connected to each other through this quantum entanglement. So because all things are energy, including our thoughts, it's important that we approach the spiritual world correctly. So our thoughts carry vibration, and these vibrations change our density. If our goal is to communicate with spirit, which exists at that higher dimension, then we have to raise our vibration to a higher level. Fear, guilt, shame, and envy, and anger are energies that lower our body. Peace, love, acceptance, and joy raise our vibration and create more light in our bodies, allowing us to become less dense. And when more light fills our bodies, the closer we are to the spiritual world. So some ways that we can raise our vibration, I find the easiest, is just to elicit a feeling of joy. So this could be hugging a loved one, dancing, singing, eating your favorite food, like a piece of chocolate. This is going to elicit feelings of joy. Some other ways to vibrationally change our body and our frequency is to be in touch physically with the earth. So this can look like going outside barefoot, physically touching or hugging a tree. I find hugging a tree changes our vibration so much more than just barely touching the earth with our feet, because the tree is rooted deep down into the earth. It generates more energy. So when we're physically touching trees or hugging trees, that's why tree huggers exist, we change our vibration so much faster. So those are some ways, some ideas on how you can change your vibration. But really, the goal here is to elicit that feeling of joy. You can even do affirmations like, I am love, I feel joy, I know peace. But also recognize that this is a meditative practice, connecting with trees and plants on this level. If you're not already one who meditates, this might be just something new to you, and it will take some time. It's all about practice. Give yourself loving compassion when it comes to this, but really being willing and just showing up and doing the work, right? And being willing to like learn and start slow. That it's just going to take time. So it's all about practice. All right, so now that we've covered the intangible aspect of like meditation and how plants are on a different realm than us, let's talk about the ways that nature will communicate with us and how we can communicate back. So because we are working with the subtle, it's kind of like a whisper. It's also sort of like a language that we have to learn. And also how we all will perceive this is going to be unique. So this really is tapping into your psychic gifts here. So there's the clairs. I'm sure most of you are familiar with clairs. You've got clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient. So really what these means is you see things, you hear things, you know or feel things. So however this comes to you, and you can have more than one, is going to differ. And later on, I'm going to show some like examples of things to look out for, because I feel like when we share examples, it kind of makes it easier for our mind to understand in a practical way what's happening. So being open, just in general, just being open and willing to experience the subtle spirit of nature in and of itself will start generating things to happen for you. And you might have to shed layers off of your perception as well. So again, be gentle. This will take some time. In your physical body, when you connect with a plant, you may feel a body sensation. So this could be like a tingle or warmness. As an example, say you're connecting with a plant that might offer you some joint health properties. When you're connecting with this plant, you could feel warmness or tingling in your joints. And that would be a sign of like, hey, it's helping you with your joints. Or maybe the plant helps with grief. So when you're consuming the plant or taking, having a meditative moment with that plant, you might, grief might come up. And so I just want you to be really aware of the very subtle things, even like a memory. If we're connecting with a plant and a memory comes up, there's like an intangible, it's like they're telling you a story or trying to explain to you how they're going to benefit you, not just in the physical, i.e., I'm good for joint pain, but also on the metaphysical with grief or with shame, or even some plants I've connected with help me feel more love for self and others. And other plants that I've connected with help me feel help me find my voice and support me feeling confident in my voice. So you see how it's not just like the physical, oh, I can help you with a sore throat. It's that intangible, metaphysical, I can help you find your voice kind of a thing. I hope you understand. See through the words, people. Okay, so how a plant typically comes to me, as an example, is like an archetype. So what I mean by this, I'll give you an example. Mimosa. When mimosa came to me, I saw physically a mother archetype wearing a dress. She had like beautiful flowing kind of soft pink. Her voice was very warm, caring, nurturing, and she just really radiated to me that loving, compassionate mother type energy. And with that, with how she came to me, that plant is actually used for joy, for happiness, and invoking a sense of warmness. So through the energy of how she introduced herself to me, I was seeing I got shown a window into the benefits of mimosa. So it's kind of like an energetic signature, how they show up for you. And this is always like, you know, how I interpret a plant is not going to be how you interpret a plant. However, it could be, it could very well be, but it could not be. So we're all unique because it is working with your subconscious mind. Your interpretation is going to be different. Another way that plants choose to come to me is like I'll hear something, like I'll hear a whisper or I'll hear a voice. So it's not always that I see a physical being. Now, also keep in mind that it could be a human-like figure, or it could even be something fairy-like or dwarf or an other mythical type creature that shows itself to you. Again, it's going to come to you the way your subconscious mind is going to be able to accept and understand. And also, you will build a relationship with these plants as well. So as you continue to connect, and it's like a friend, right? So the first time we meet someone, we might not get to know them that deep. So when we continue to show up, maybe we drink that cup that if it's a plant that you can physically have internally, maybe we sit with it every single day and just continue to get to know it. We research it. Maybe we even like put a picture of it on our altar, but making that effort to connect with the plant will bring you put the effort in, and that plant will come to you as well. And then as you continue to deepen that relationship, you're going to learn more and more and more. Now, if this is all new to you and you're not familiar with like connecting with spirit, really, it's not just spirit of plants, but this is spirit in general. Angels, ascended masters, guides, even animals have spirit that we can connect with. Don't judge what comes up. You may feel a little weird if this is totally new for you, but just keep in mind that you might not see anything at first, but it's all a practice. Don't judge what comes up, even if what comes up is from your ego saying, oh, this isn't real. Don't judge that, because that will lower your vibration. Just give yourself loving compassion. Maybe today is not a good day to sit with a plant. We can come back to it at a different time. But I also want you to remember that we do have a spirit team of angels and guides that are willing to help us. So they won't help unless we ask. So simply just saying, spirit team, help me. They're immediately going to come in and they're going to start supporting you in your goals and in your intentions. So some more ways of connecting with plants. Being out in nature, just simple observation, is a great way to train your brain to be aware but not attached. So this could look like you just sitting outside, not listening to music, unless it's like a frequency or, piano or something like that. No lyrical things to keep your mind busy. Just being in open awareness outside and allowing whatever wants to come up. This is a beautiful way of allowing your thoughts to be in open awareness, but not into that attachment. So yeah, definitely listen to the subtle cues. So here's some practical ways in my experience that plants will kind of be like, hey, I'm over here. So one way is when you're walking in a park, you're continuing to notice a particular plant that sticks out to you. And it's not just like sticking out, it's like glowing. It's like super vibrant. This is the way that plants are going to try to draw you in. Or you could even feel that just unexplainable, you just feel so drawn, like you just need to go over to it and touch it and look at it. And that is the very subtle way that the plant spirit will call you in there, call you to it. Maybe every single time you leave your house, you continue to see that new plant, or that same plant, excuse me. Or maybe your friends or your family members keep sending you the same article, or you turn on the TV and there's a news study about lavender, and lavender just keeps coming up and coming up and coming up in your awareness. That is another way, spirit will use everything around you, from your phone to your friends and your neighbors to any, just absolutely everything in your environment is spirit trying to communicate with you. So those coincidences, pay attention to those coincidences, because they really are like spirit and plant. They're saying, hey, I have medicine for you. I have a message. I can support you. And they really want to do that. Our plants and animals and all things in nature, they want to support our healing. So they will try to reach out to you. So yeah, just being open in your awareness and noticing what's constantly coming up for you is going to be really transformational. Now, when things come up, it could have a season. So what I mean by this is it could come up for a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months, or even a few years that you've repeatedly noticed this plant. And the goal is to, when we notice this reoccurring pattern, to pay attention to it. It's going to keep coming up if we ignore it, right? Because there's something there that spirit wants to get our attention. So the faster we find it and the faster we start looking into it or doing the research or even taking the medicine that's coming up, the faster this coincidence or this plant or what have you will settle down, because you got the message, right? And we can move on. Also, I want to mention, if at any point you guys have any questions, you can either like put them in the comment box and I'll read them, or if you want to ask it however feels true to you. All right, so I want to share an example of some ways that, and this is a general example that, okay. So you're having an issue in your life, right? Maybe you have some low iron levels. Perhaps you don't know you have these low iron levels, or maybe you just had blood work done and you're aware of it. Whatever the case may be, now all of a sudden you're seeing stinging nettle popping up everywhere. Everywhere you turn, stinging nettle. A friend brings it up. Maybe a friend gifts you some stinging nettle tincture. That is a sign that stinging nettle wants to work with you. They're very high in iron, and they are here to support you in your healing. Whatever you need in your body, plants are going to be there for you to help with that healing. So that's just an example. I'll give some more examples as we continue on. Okay, so that's some ways that plants will try to talk to us. Now, how do we talk back? Meditation. It's really that simple. You could also connect with plants in the dream realm. That's a beautiful way to connect with the spirit. How I like to communicate with the plant is I'll literally just go, either I'll go outside where that plant is physically growing, or I'll sit in my meditative space and I will drop in, right? I'll tune in, connect with the earth, quiet my mind, take a couple deep breaths, and then I'll state my intention. So what this can look like is, Spirit of Rosemary, I desire to connect with you. Please come into my awareness now. And maybe you have a question for the plant. You can absolutely ask the plant a question, or you can blank statement, just be like, Rosemary, if you have any advice for me, or if you have any medicine for me. Medicine can also look like a phrase. A phrase could be medicine for our soul. So I'm not saying that it on a chemical level, if you understand what I'm saying. So you address the plant, you speak your intention to the plant, and then just be aware. Be aware of what comes up in your body. Like I was mentioning earlier, you can get like tingles in your forehead, or maybe a chakra might, excuse me, a chakra might be activated. And that's going to be a sign for you, a memory, a feeling, or something along those lines. Jeanette said, tropical chickweed always shows up for me, and coincidentally, I was recommended to take it as tea, and it always grows close to my doorstep. Yeah, so Jeanette, that's an ally for you. If it's always growing next to your doorstep, you see it everywhere, that plant might just be with you. It might just want to be, it would want to work with you. I absolutely love that. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so let me see my notes here. All right, so now that you've identified where spirit is trying to get your attention, what do? Get to know the plant. So you've identified, okay, it's chickweed. I'm going to go to chickweed. I'm going to sit with that plant. I'm going to learn about it, research it. Maybe we take a cutting of the plant, or we put a picture of it on our altar if you choose to have an altar. Just really getting to know the plant, researching it, and making that effort, right? Like I said earlier, they're like people. They really are like people. So being respectful and coming to them, showing an effort on our part is going to make them so much more willing to work with us. And then they're going to start opening up to us, teaching us, and just helping us up level our lives in whatever way that is. If you don't know what the plant is and it keeps coming up to you in your awareness, there's a great app called Picture This that I found is pretty accurate. You can also do a Google search or use Google Lenses. I also recommend as you're researching the plant to look up the folk history. And what I mean by this, folk history is like not the traditional medical properties where I definitely recommend do look up the medical properties too, but also look up that folk history of like what old wives' tales were used around that specific plant, or maybe like stories. There's a lot of folk stories, like in the Celtic tradition or even the Native American tradition, about the spirit of the plants and how they help us not just on the physical, but also on that metaphysical. So when a plant does show up in your life, researching that folk history, it's going to add another layer to understanding the medicine of that plant. And just basically take it into your meditative practice. So if it's an animal that's coming up for you, go to the zoo. Go to the zoo and find that animal or watch a nature documentary about that animal. If it's a dolphin, go to the beach. You kind of get the drill here. Just making that effort to connect with whatever aspect of nature is coming up for you. What we put in is what we get out, and that's going to be really beneficial. Now I kind of touched on this earlier, but I'm gonna go a little deeper into this because I think it's really important. We need to maintain that humble and kind demeanor. So if we're going to the plant and we're saying, you need to teach me, and demanding of the plant, they're probably not going to be too open, right? Just like people. If you're meeting a new person for the first time and you automatically start drilling them, tell me this, tell me that, tell me that, they're probably not going to be very open. So being in a peaceful demeanor and communicating with the plant in a humble manner is really going to just, again, build that relationship. Their consciousness too. You want to, it needs to be in your heart, right? So spirit reads your heart. So if you're coming to the plant for selfish gain, they're going to know. And remember that they might not tell you anything. Even if you are coming to them with a humble heart and with, good intentions, they might not tell you anything at first. So it does take practice, just being open. Don't hold any expectations, because I tell you what, I've gone into some things with expectations and it's never been, my expectations are like, nope, that wasn't it at all. So just being open to whatever comes up is going to be really important for you. Let's see, I already covered that. Okay, this is important as well. So when we're connecting with a plant, say if you're a forager, this is also really important, asking permission to harvest the plant. Now, I got asked the question, like, how do you know their answer? And I thought that was a really great question. So I want to repeat that here. When we ask for permission, how I get answers when I ask for permission to cut a flower or trim some of the leaves off, I use my body like a pendulum. So you're familiar with like, a pendulum, a classic crystal that you would hold over and it would like move. I use my body. And what this is basically, I say, lean me forward for yes and backwards for no. And I'll sit there in that meditative awareness and I'll ask the question, may I harvest from you? And sometimes they tell me no. I lean back, my body will like pull back. So I'm like, okay, I won't harvest from you. And other times they're like, yes, please, please do. So we need to make sure that we're being kind and asking for their permission, and always leave an offering. So, an offering will look different depending upon like who you are and what you're doing. Traditionally, it's tobacco. is what we offer the plant. It could even be your hair, nail clipping. Sometimes I pee on the plant. I know I know that sounds a little weird, but that, plants love urine. I'll tell you that. They love organic material. So an orange peel or anything like that, they want organic material. You could even fertilize the plant if it's a plant in your garden, and you want to give back to them, right? Because it's kind of like a bank. When we take the leaves off the plant and we use them as food or as medicine, we're withdrawing from the bank. Now we need to make a deposit, and that deposit, what they want is organic material. So compost is a great, hair, coffee grinds, whatever resonates for you. Just definitely make sure we ask for permission and then we give back to the plant. And that's really just going to build that relationship with the plant even more. Okay, so at this point, we are going to take a break and go brew a cup of tea. So I ask that you brew a single herb, not a blend, right? So intuitively pick any one plant that you have on hand, and we'll meet back in about 15 minutes or so. But yeah, just pick any plant. If you already have something with you, you can let me know. But if not, if you need to go brew the plant, now is your opportunity to do that. And then once we come back with our plant, we are going to do a guided meditation. Well, we're going to share some stories while the plant steeps, and then we're going to get into a guided meditation. All right. So if you have any questions, okay, Jeanette says, sounds good. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know now. But otherwise, go brew your tea, please. Mandy, with the whole like pushing to the side, um, before you asked your question, did you say like you have to like tell spirit or tell whoever you're working with um how to interpret like how to communicate with you? So you have to blank statement say forward is yes and backward is no. Did you like make it very obvious to tell them this is what this means and this is what that means? Because otherwise it can be um like a maybe is kind of what I'm getting.
Sometimes I distinctly remember asking, forwards is yes, backwards is no. There are other times I may have forgotten to do that, and that could be the sideways that I'm remembering. Um, so could it be on those times that I forgot to be specific that
Yeah,
it comes
always
off
be
like that?
specific. Yeah, because it's
Okay.
kind of what I just tapped in and I asked spirit and I was just really getting like a maybe is like how I felt with that was just like a yeah, maybe or like a rephrase or it could also be like maybe your masculine or feminine side, but I'm not. And depending on it's really depending on your question. Definitely use your intuition when it comes to that. But I am getting a like you need to be very specific because like when I use my pendulum, I charge it with my intention. So when it swings side to side, it's a no. When it swings forward and back, it's a yes. And every time I pick it up to use it, I reaffirm how I am interpreting. So it's kind of like we have to tell spirit how we're going to read it like a language. Otherwise, it's kind of like leaving it up to guess, right? So we have to be like, this is this and that is that. Okay, here's my question.
Okay.
If that
I'll
makes
try to get
sense.
better about that and see if maybe that's the my disconnect when I ask questions.
Yeah. I mean, you could also just like be really intentional and say, every time I ask a question, I'm always leaning forward for yes and backward for no. That just like be very blanket statement. I will always use this form of communication with you when communicating with you, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like blank statement, this is this and that is that. And but I have seen other dowsers, like people because like it's dowsing when you do that. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but other dowsers that I've seen, they will always at the beginning of the session sometimes you can even ask spirit show me yes, show me no, that way you're on the same communication level. That makes sense. So like
Okay.
show me yes of my body, show me what yes feels like, show me what no feels like, and that way you always have that it's like confirmation that you guys are like speaking the same language basically.
Okay.
Jeanette, are you back? I'll give her a couple minutes. What tea did you choose?
I chose chamomile because that's been kind of popping up for me.
Tropical chickweed, yeah. Jeanette, you'll just know. I mean, it's really that innate sense of like, okay, I feel a completion, but you really might not ever feel that completion because for you, possibly tropical chickweed could want to work with you forever, like an ally. Like they could literally be your kind of like a spirit animal will sometimes be with you forever or a season. Um, So you might not ever be done working with the plant. It might just have medicine for you for the rest of your life, or just want to work with you for the rest of your life. Okay. Yeah, Amanda, that was so funny that you chose because like I don't know, I get these hits, right? I get these hits of like intuition. I was like, she's gonna pick chamomile. I knew it. Okay. So while our oh, and I chose rosemary. I I originally wanted to sit with hibiscus, and I don't know what it is about hibiscus, but I keep like I don't know, it's funny because I say she's sour, but the plant is actually physically sour. And like we have a vendetta. I don't really know what's going on with me and hibiscus, but I keep trying to connect and I keep always getting a no. And she feels sour to me, very sour. So I was going to choose hibiscus, but she gave me two big no's. And I was like, okay, back to rosemary, which is okay. So like that's another example of like really being respectful for the plant and recognizing like they might just not want to work with me. You know, I came to that plant, it didn't come to me. So while our tea is brewing, I want to share some stories and open it up if anyone has any stories to share as well. My first one that I want to share, I have one from my personal experience, and then I have one from Brogan, my husband's experience. So for me, this is my story with mimosa. I had just gotten back from vacation and I was kind of feeling some post-vacation depression. I'm sure a lot of you understand where it's like back to reality. You have to do the dishes. You're not in this beautiful, I was in the mountains, so I was definitely not happy to be back in Florida. Um, and I was just feeling so low and kind of, in that little bit of a seasonal depression. Um, and I couldn't shake the blues. They were just happening for a couple days until one day I was standing in my kitchen as I do, as one does, just stands in their kitchen, just like thinking about life. And I looked out, I was thinking like, why I hate feeling like this. Like, what is going on? And I looked out my window, and from the angle that I was, I could see in the next door neighbor's yard, mimosa. This mimosa tree was in full bloom with these beautiful pink puffy flowers. And it hit me like a lightning bolt. I was like, oh my God, mimosa. Because I have this I learned about mimosa through my herbal schooling. So I knew about it on the surface, right? On like that paper level, I knew, oh, it's a good plant for happiness. It's like in Chinese medicine, it's known as the tree of happiness. So I was like, cool, I'm going to make some medicine with mimosa. So I went over to my neighbor's house with permission and picked some flowers. And while I was over there, I I asked to connect, right? And I asked for permission to connect with the plant. And when she came to me, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but she came to me as like that mother, really sweet, really gentle, and very nurturing. But she offered me so much more than just like the happiness that I felt like I needed in that moment. I worked with her and ended up working with her for about 3 months, which 3 to 4 months, which ended up being like her entire cycle, right? So she is dormant for most of the year. She blooms around end of April, beginning of May, and she stays blooming for about a month, month and a half, and then she goes into seed. So as I kept working with her, making medicine from her leaves, or not her leaves, I'm sorry, from her flowers and bark, and taking them semi-daily. I think I started with like every other day, regardless. I towards the end of her season, I sat under the tree. I was giving back. I laid some fertilizer and I sat and I was just like contemplating. I was looking at the tree. I was inside of so like the tree comes down low so I could go under the branches and sit at the base of the trunk, and the leaves were all around me. And I was looking at them and then I closed my eyes and I got tuned in and connected. And when I opened my eyes, all of a sudden, I didn't see this before, but I saw her green seed pods, so bright, so vibrant, like they were just like a spotlight was only on the seeds. And it hit me, and this was the medicine that she gave me, metaphysical medicine, was that I don't have to be in bloom all year. Like I am allowed to ebb and flow in my energies, and I'm allowed to go to seed and then go into dormancy and not be full, bright happiness all the time. I'm allowed to ebb and flow in the energies of life. And she really supported me just like a nurturing mother. Like her energy was so caring. And keep that in mind as well, that I wasn't modeled a very nurturing mother in my childhood. So having this tree show up for me as that archetype was really healing and allowing me to just feel my feelings but also bring in so much more joy. She helped me feel so much more joy. And I, forever, like that was 2 years ago. And every season I work with her every time she's in bloom, because she's only in bloom for like a month and a half, 2 months if I'm lucky. And I always go out there and make sure I'm connecting with her. And that's an example of a plant coming to me. And there's other ways that we can go to a plant. Another story I want to share is Brogan's, my husband. So, Brogan was having some health issues and he went to the doctor and got a blood test. We're waiting for his results. Meanwhile, we're at the grocery store and he points out this plant like randomly. He doesn't really have that knowledge of plants like I do. But he points out this plant and he's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "Oh, that's milk thistle. It's good for this, that, and the other." And he was like, "That's cool." A couple days go by, he was at work with an acquaintance, someone who barely knows him. And he's like, "Hey, have you ever heard of milk thistle?" Like, so random, right? Random. And then that weekend, he goes biking. He sees this gorgeous flower. He gets off his bike, goes over and takes a picture of it, texts it to me. And when I picked up my phone, I was like, "Brogan, that's a milk thistle." Like it was in the thistle family. It wasn't exactly the same species, but it was a thistle. And the flowers look identical. And then his blood test comes back. Sure enough, he had some liver issues. What is milk thistle used for? The liver. So that is an example of how, even in Brogan's circumstance where he is not keen to listening to spirit, plants are still coming to him and wanting to work and support his healing. He needed some liver support. Milk thistle's like, "I've got the medicine that you need." Um, one more story I have. This one came to me for a client. So if you're working with clients, if you're a clinical herbalist, so keep in mind that you're a medium for plants. You are literally like the translator to support people in their healing. So this person literally knocked on my door, knocked on my car door, and I started working with her. And I learned all about her, her problems and what she needed. I'm not going to go into too much detail, of course, but as I was working with her and coming up with her formula, I started noticing the chaseberry tree kept coming up in my awareness, the Vittix berry. And I had actually never heard of this plant before. I had to learn about it. But as I started learning about it, I was like, "Oh my God, it's literally the perfect thing for my client who was dealing with high estrogen. This plant helps to lower estrogen levels and raise progesterone levels." And I just couldn't believe how absolutely perfect that plant was for her. Like it was, that plant truly came to me for her. I didn't go to it. So those are some examples of ways that we work with spirit, we work with plant medicine. Other ways this can work too is like with birds or animals, right? Like blue jays are one of the animals that continue to come to me. They come to me through other people. Like I was gifted blue jay feathers. And then a friend texted me and she was like, "I just had the craziest experience with blue jays. And for some reason, I had to text you." And I was like, "Yeah, blue jays are, they definitely show up for me in my life." So, yeah, those are some ways that spirit will connect with us. And um, if you guys have a story, if you want to share, feel free to share.
I have one little story, just about gardenias. I don't know if you can make a gardenia tea or tincture. I'll talk to you more about that later because I'm curious. Uh, Gardenias always show up for me. I get like even schoolmates, I've been graduated 10 years almost, and I still get old classmates like, "Oh, look at this gardenia tree I saw in the neighborhood." And they'll send me photos of them. But I grew up with a very large gardenia bush that became kind of my little hideout behind where our pool was. And it was always a comforting, it almost was more masculine feeling, but it was very secure, safe, comforting. And to this day, being around those bushes, smelling like the fragrance or like the cologne smell off of them is always just a very strong, like, I'm here to help you, you're safe, you're protected. So that's my story. I feel like gardenias are just a part of me. And so I definitely need to like do more research on just all the different like things that come around with gardenias because they're everywhere for me. So I need to know what they're asking of me or telling me because it's just like it's amazing that the different things that you can come from one plant or multiple plants. It's just really amazing.
Yeah, I love that. What popped up in my mind when you said that is possibly working with a flower essence. If you're not familiar with that, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, flower essences with gardenia. I think you would probably really like that. So Jeanette said, so I asked permission before I picked for this tea, and I must say it is really enjoyable cup. Prior, it's been kind of bitter, which deterred me from drinking it. Awesome. What did you pick, Jeanette? Oh yeah, tropical chickweed. Duh, duh, duh. Huh. Very cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the meditation. So I'm just going to guide you guys to drop into your body. I invite you to hold your cup in your hands, and I'm just going to guide you through connecting with your cup. Okay. So if it is comfortable, I ask that you just get seated. Start to notice where your tailbone makes contact with the surface below you. If it's possible for you to put your feet on the ground, I invite you to do that as well. It supports you in grounding. We're just going to take 3 deep breaths, focusing on the exhale, making the exhale longer than the inhale. So I'm going to count for you. We're going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And continue in your own time. And once you've gotten to your 3 breaths, begin to notice your tailbone and the surface below you. And visualize coming out through the bottom of your spine, roots like the roots of a tree, traveling down into the earth, into the surface below you, past the layers of the home that you're in, until it makes contact with the earth. And then see it going deep, these roots like the roots of a tree, and wide, branching out past fossils, bones, and the layers of the soil, traveling down deep into the earth. And remember, as deep as you go as wide, just like a tree, anchoring you into the earth. Keep following these roots, and don't worry if you don't see anything, just being open and willing to participate. This will be happening for you in your behalf. And once we reach the center of the earth, perhaps you see a hollow space. And in this hollow space, there is a massive, glowing energy source. Maybe you see a crystal or a sun. Whatever you see is true to you and perfect. And as we marvel at this energy core in the center of the earth, we ask that our roots wrap around this core and create an energetic anchor, wrapping around and around, maybe making a little knot. And once you have secured your roots here, give them a little energetic tug, just to ensure that your anchor is secure. And if it comes undone, that's okay. Just use your intention to wrap around those roots once more. And once you feel complete and anchored here, we're going to breathe up the roots of our spine, through the roots up into our spine. We're going to breathe this energy up into our body, through our energy centers, up to our crown chakra, the top of our head. And on the exhale, we're going to wash this energy over our physical body like a waterfall. And we're going to do this 3 times. So breathing up, that energy, gold and white lights coming up through our cord, up into our body, hold at the top. And exhale, the energy washes over our physical body, engulfing us in this golden energy. 2 more times, breathing up with the earth. Through our body, holds at the top. And exhale, the energy comes out and around you. 1 more time. And at this point, we have connected with the earth. We are all grounded and present in this space. If you're not already doing so, please hold your cup of tea. And I am going to state my intention out loud. And I invite you to state your intention either out loud to yourself or in your head, whatever feels most comfortable to you. Just, of course, change the name of the tea to your personal cup of tea, okay? It is my intention to now connect with Rosemary, the spirit of Rosemary, to gain information and to build a better communication, to build a better relationship with the spirit of Rosemary. She supports me in my healing. So I invite Rosemary to come to me now and support me. Thank you, Rosemary. And now the remainder of this meditation will be self-guided. And I'm inviting you to begin sipping your tea, smelling it, just noticing what comes up for you here, noticing what body sensations happen. I encourage you to also have a notepad handy to jot these down, and just start to facilitate a back and forth dialogue or whatever comes up for you. Just be aware and notice what's happening for you in your body and in your mind and in your spirit. At this time, I'd like to invite you to wrap up your conversation with the plant. We want to thank it for offering us whatever information or healing that it has gifted us. Thank you, Plant Spirit. Thank you, angels. Thank you, guides, for continuing to guide us towards creating healing in our lives and connecting with nature on a deep and loving level. We ask that you continue to be with us as we continue on our journey. Help us to see the subtleness of spirit and continue to deepen our relationship with said spirit, always for love and perfect comfort and what is in alignment with our individual souls and for our individual life purpose and journey on this earth. We thank them for showing up and we send them on their way now. I invite you to bring awareness back into your body if you are ready to do so. If not, you can stay as long as you desire. Excuse me. When you are ready, open your eyes. And I'm going to be quiet for a little bit here so you can journal or just integrate whatever came up for you during that time. When you guys are complete, if you'll just drop it in the chat box for me, please. All right. Does anyone want to share their experience? I will go first. So, Rosemary, for me, every time I connect with Rosemary, it's a little bit different, I've noticed. But this time, I definitely felt a lot of warmness in my gut, and I felt like some things were kind of like moving there, if you catch my drift. I definitely felt a lot of like a little bit of drying on my tongue, very sweet. The volatile oils were quite lovely in my cup. Um, every time I connect with Rosemary, I get a lot of throat stuff coming through, which is really interesting because like on the surface level, on the paper level, the rosemary plant doesn't that I'm aware of doesn't have any kind of like quintessential throat or throat chakra activations, but every time I connect, it's very clear to me that she's very helpful with like merging um like the thoughts into the words, if that makes sense. Every time I connect with her, it's very like she wants to sing, she wants to talk. So much throat activation in a really calming way, not very overactive in that throat activation, just like very balancing and helping me to feel confident in my words and also have clear thought to word transmutation, if that makes sense. And every time I connect with her as well, she's so like bubbly and stimulating. I felt a lot. I always feel activity up here in my brain when I connect with her, but even more this time it was like, which I thought was really cool. And I know on a clinical side, she's great for memory and brain and boosting circulation in that way. So, um, yeah, that was my experience with Rosemary. And if anyone would like to share. Ooh, Jeanette, yeah. So it shared that it also wants me to rinse my hair with it. Saw myself rinsing my hair. Absolutely. Tropical chickweed I put in my baths when I take baths because it is so moistening and soothing. Yeah, I would definitely rinse your hair with that. That would be so like detangling and moisturizing, or even like doing a little leave-in hair. Actually, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to take your tip. Thank you. Thank you, Tropical Chickweed, for sharing that because I love that. Yeah. Mandy, do you want to share? You don't have to, of course.
I was actually like debating it because uh I just got lots of energy, which is different than the chamomile I normally get, is very like calming. And so with this cup, it's very like the best way is like it feels just very yellow. It's very happy, it's very energetic. It's like the thing I heard was go outside, go do something. One of the things was like go for a walk, which is interesting because it's so hot outside. But if it wants me to, I will go for a walk. So that's like the whole meditation was just bubbly, happy, and yellow and just energized.
Wow, I love that. So cool. Yay! All right, I'm so glad that you guys had good experiences with the plants that you chose. Yeah, so I really encourage you guys to just like continue deepening your connection with the plant. Like I said, they really want to help us, right? We're so connected to nature. There really is no separation between us and nature. They're here for us and we just learn to tap in. So thank you guys for showing up and being open and being willing and sharing with me. I really, really appreciate it. This recording, I'm going to edit it a little bit to cut out like some of the quiet parts and get that up for everyone to reflect on, and then the people who weren't able to make it live. And I'm also going to send you guys an email a couple days from now with more resources, some books, some podcasts, and just some general, a little overview for you guys to like take this into practice and keep working on it. So feel free to ask me any questions after the fact if you want to send me an email. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to stop recording. How do I do that?